Classification of business activity. Primary sector business activity firms engaged in farming, fishing, oil extraction, and all other industries that extract natural resources so that they can be used and processed by other firms. Secondary sector business activity. Firms that manufacture and process products from natural resources, including computers, brewing, baking, cloth making, and construction. Tertiary sector business activity: firms that provide services to consumers and other businesses such as retailing, transport, insurance, banking, hotels, tourism, and telecommunications. Changes in business activity. Importance of each sector in an economy changes over time. For example, industrialization, manufacturing, production of goods in developing countries. Benefits: increase in GDP, taxes, jobs, output, value added to raw materials. Problems: housing or social problems, people moving to cities, raw material or components imported. Growth largely possible due to multinationals. Deindustrialization in developed ones, rising incomes or high living standards, spend mostly on services, for example, bank, tourism, hotels, etc. Example: employment data 2013 as a percentage of total employment. Country: United Kingdom, primary 2, secondary 19, tertiary 79. China 42, 26, 32. Ghana 54, 20 and 26. Public and private sectors. Public sector comprises organizations accountable to and controlled by central or local government, the state. Private sector comprises businesses owned and controlled by individuals or groups of individuals. In a mixed economy, most business activities are in the private sector. Mixed economy. Economic resources are owned and controlled by both private and public sectors. Services that are considered too significant and provided by the state usually include health, education, defense, and public law and order, police, telecom, energy, public transport. Another reason for the state to provide services rather than private sectors is the existence of public goods. Example: street lighting. Taxes are used to pay for public goods. Free market economy. Economic resources are owned largely by the private sector with very little state intervention. Economies with free market system have very small public sector. Command economy. Economic resources are owned, planned and controlled by the state. Those with central planning command economies have very few businesses in the private sector. Legal structure of business organizations, private sector. Private sector businesses, sole trader, partnerships, limited companies, private Ltd, public PLC, and cooperatives. Legal structure of Legal structure of business organizations, private sector. Sole trader, a business in which one person provides the permanent finance and in return has full control of the business and is able to keep all of the profits. The most common form of business organization, single owner may employ others, business remains small. Great in number make up a small proportion of total business turnover. Unlimited liability, owner's personal property can be taken or sold off to pay business debts in case of a business failure. Sole trader advantages: easy to set up, complete control of owner, quick and easy decision making, all profits kept by owner, able to choose time, pattern of working is his own boss, close personal relationships with employees, consumers, can be based on owner's own personal interests or skills. Disadvantages: unlimited liability, personal assets at risk, mostly faces intense competition, lacks expertise in some business areas, responsible for all areas of management, difficult to raise capital, long hours or a lot of hard work, no continuity after owner dies because no legal identity. Partnership: a business formed by two or more people to carry on a business together, with shared capital, investment, and usually shared responsibilities. 2 to 20 partners, not a separate legal unit or identity. Most common form of business in some professions, for example, doctors, accountants. Partners should be carefully chosen decision of one binding on all. Unlimited liability, limited liability an option in the UK. Partnership deed or agreement usual but not a legal requirement. Details regarding profit sharing, management roles, authority to sign contracts. Partnerships. Advantages. Partners may be expert specialists in different areas, more innovation or ideas, additional capital, losses shared, greater privacy and fewer legal formalities compared to companies. Disadvantages: unlimited liability, profit shared, no continuity, partnership dissolved and reformed in case of death or retirement of a partner. One partner decision binding on all partners. Decisions are shared. Limited companies. Three distinct and important factors about companies. 1. Limited liability. 2. Legal responsibility. 3. Continuity. Ownership continues through inheritance of shares. Limited liability. The only liability or potential loss a shareholder has if the company fails is the amount invested in the company, not the total wealth of the shareholder. Private limited company, a small to medium-sized business that is owned by shareholders who are often members of the same family. This company cannot sell shares to the general public. 7 to 50 shareholders. New shares cannot be sold on the open market or stock exchange. Existing shareholders may sell their shares only with the consent or agreement of other shareholders. Shares owned by original sole trader, friends, relatives, and employees. Former sole trader or first owner often has controlling interest. Share: a certificate confirming part ownership of a company and entitling the shareholder or owner to dividends and certain shareholder rights. Shareholder: a person or institution owning shares in a limited company. Legal formalities in setting up a business. In order to protect investors and creditors, there are some legal documents that are needed before a company may be established. Get their certificate of incorporation. Memorandum of Association. This states the name of the company, the address of the head office through which it can be contacted, the maximum share capital for which the company seeks authorization, and the declared aims of the business. Articles of Association. This document covers the internal workings and control of the business. For example, the name of directors and the procedures to be followed at meetings will be detailed. So the potential investors can have an idea about the value of shares when they see the maximum share capital. Also, so that they do not invest in a business with an objective that they may not want to be associated with. For example, weapons. Public limited company. A limited company, often a large business with the legal right to sell shares to the general public. Share prices are quoted on the National Stock Exchange. Can raise very large sums of money through public issues of shares. Buying and selling of shares costly to set up. In addition to MOA and AOA, they need to get a stock exchange listing for which their past accounts and trading records will be scrutinized. Democratic as decisions taken by voting at the annual general meeting AGM, divorce between ownership and control, run by the board of directors appointed at AGM by the shareholders. Conflict of interest short-termism can be damaging to the long-term investment plans. Public limited companies. Advantages: limited liability, separate legal identity, continuity, ease of buying and selling shares, access to substantial capital resources. Disadvantages: legal formalities, cost of consultants or financing advisors when creating a company, share price fluctuation, sometimes beyond business control. Legal requirement to make information public, risk of takeover, directors influenced by short-term objectives of investors. Other forms of business organization, cooperative, is an association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs or goals through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. For example, agricultural, housing, producer cooperatives. Producer or worker cooperatives involved in making goods, consumer or retailer cooperatives selling goods or services owned by members, one member, one vote principle. Profits are shared equally. Responsibilities, workload, decision making shared. Delegation to managers in large cooperatives. Benefits: bulk buying, taking decisions and solving problems together. Motivation for members to work hard as profits are shared. Drawbacks: poor management unless professionals are employed. Capital shortages, slow decision making. Similarity between cooperatives and companies. Democratic system, limited liability. Franchise: a business that uses the name, logo, and trading system of an existing successful business. Legal contract between two firms allows the franchise to use the name, logo, and marketing methods of the franchisor. The franchisee can then separately decide which form of legal structure to adopt. Benefits: less chances of failing, advice and training by franchisor, national advertising by franchisor, quality checked and established suppliers. Franchisor agrees not to open another branch in that area. Drawbacks: share of profits to the franchisor, franchisee license fee, local promotions by franchisee, no choice of suppliers or supplies, strict rules over pricing or layout that is reduced control over business. Joint venture: two or more businesses agree to work closely together on a particular project and create a separate business division to do so. Not the same as mergers but may lead to mergers. Costs or risks are shared, for example, Google and NASA, BMW and Toyota research into hydrogen fuel cells, vehicles, electrification, and ultra lightweight materials. Different experiences, trends can be shared. Might have major markets in different countries, can exploit them more effectively. Risks: different management style or culture may not blend well. Errors and mistakes, blaming each other. Failure of one partner would put the whole project at risk. Holding company: a business organization that owns and controls a number of separate businesses but does not unite them into one unified company. Mostly diversified business, although kept separate, still there is always a possibility of centralized control by the holding company's directors for all major decisions, for example, investments. Example of holding companies: Sony Corporation, Johnson and Johnson, Alphabet Inc., Berkshire Hathaway. Public corporation: a business enterprise owned and controlled by the state, also known as nationalized industry. Profit is not often a major objective. For example, public TV channels, public service programs, state-owned airlines, safety. Advantages: social objectives rather than profit. Loss-making services might still continue if the social cause is great enough. Finance raised mainly from government. Disadvantages: tendency towards inefficiency due to less emphasis on profit maximization. Subsidies from government encourage inefficiency. Government intervention for political reasons. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, new videos every day.